Hello and welcome to C++ Weekly. In this episode, I'm going to talk about tools that you must know about in 2026, online tools for C++. This is a GitHub tracker thing. You can add to them too if you want to, but there's things that I want to talk about here. As always, I encourage you to check out the video description, links about books, t-shirts. Oh man, I got some awesome t-shirts. You should buy one. Okay, let's cover these things. Now, the first one is Compiler Explorer, and I really hope that you already know about Compiler Explorer. Maybe you're new to the channel if you don't know about Compiler Explorer. It's really handy. This is compiler-explorer.com. Some of you know it as godbolt.org. It is the exact same website. They're both made. The one website is made by Matt Godbolt. It's really useful stuff for exploring compiler stuff. You know what? You can just type in programs and you can run them and you can look at the assembly output and you can test, I don't know, every version of GCC going back to 4.0, which is kind of a long time ago. 2.9.5 is the one that I started with professionally, which is even longer ago. Clang wasn't even an option back then. And there's just so many different languages and tools to play with. So check out Compiler Explorer. Today's episode is sponsored by JetBrains. CLion is a cross-platform JetBrains IDE for C and C++. It is ready for your projects out of the box and has everything you need to stay productive, focused, and in control. Deep language understanding with intelligent code assistance, comprehensive build system support, unit testing frameworks, advanced debugging, and embedded development. Use the code CPPWeeklyCLion to get 25% off when purchasing a new CLion subscription or renewing your existing one. Okay, the next one that I have up here is the CPP Draft Search. Let's take a look at this. All right, so we can search the standard for things like consteval. And this will tell me every single section of the standard that has consteval mentioned in it. And let's see if I were to click on one of these, it is going to take me to the C++ draft website. We need to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. So a handy way of searching the current C++ standard. Let's go ahead and look next at that draft page that it took us to and one of the follow-ups here. So this is eel.is/C++ draft. And this is the current draft standard of the C++. Let's see, this was generated on December 17th of 2025. You can click through here, you can get a nice well-rendered HTML version of the C++ standard with nice handy paragraph linking. Now you will often see that people will share links like this when they are sharing links about the C++ standard. It's great for stable name references and paragraphs, like I said, and also you can kind of dig in pretty far. So if I click on intro here, I'm going to get all of intro, but if I click on intro.abstract, I'm just going to get the subset that is intro.abstract. It's going to kind of extract that a little bit for me. This is, again, the current C++ draft standard. If you want a historical view of things, there's this CPPWP GitHub. This will make sense in a minute. So this is archived versions of the C++ standard. This is going back to C++ 11. You can look at the HTML versions of things or the full PDF here. So if you do the tip of trunk, this one right here, this should be approximately the equivalent of eel.is. But if you want to go back and say, no, I want to look at the HTML version of C++ 14, then you can do that as well. This is the CPPWP project from Tim Song CPP. Okay, let's check out this other website called search.cpp-lang.org. This is yet another way of searching the C++ standard. So if I search for consteval, then I can see every single page, again, in the C++ draft that happens to have const_eval in it and a %match. So we can see const_eval comes up mostly in the metaprogramming library, which makes sense. All these things have to happen at compile time. So good job making all this const_eval. That's a lot of const_eval. Next up is wg21.link. This one, you kind of have to know what you're looking for to be able to use this effectively. But if you do wg21.link/std, it's going to give you the current working draft of the standard. If you give it a particular version of the standard, it's going to take you to the PDF versions of these standards. If you give it a issue number or a paper number, it's going to take you to that issue. So let's look for a good issue. What is a good one? wg21.link/p2662r3. This has given us the paper for pack indexing, which is incredibly helpful, but maybe not as helpful as we were hoping for. Let's go ahead and instead look for that paper. So we'll do the exact same thing again, P2662, but without the revision number, and then /status. And we can see this takes us to the GitHub issue that tracks this, and we can see that this issue is closed, and it has been merged into the C++ draft standard. The standard is all managed on GitHub with pull request. And then we can see when it was voted for and how it got into the standard and what day and all that kind of thing. So really helpful utility here if you're doing some deep dive stuff into the C++ standard. All right, I'm now going to talk about my own projects that I've been working on this year. This is the CPP STD MD, and it's a really long story, but what I really wanted to do was be able to track the evolution of certain C++ language features. And the fallout of this is that I ended up with a tool. Now this thing has been entirely coded by Claude, just so you know. So it's talking kind of highly of itself and its comments are out of date. But this is a Markdown conversion of the standard. And I've got 11, 14, 17, all the versions of the standard that I possibly can as Markdown. And it is not perfect. It's by far not perfect. It's also not as good as the eel.is page, in that when you click on like lex here, you're going to get all of the lexical conventions in one place, but it's pretty good, and you have Markdown human readable versions of this C++ standard, and this is my, again, CPP STD MD. But I kind of wasn't satisfied with that, and so I have cpp evo.dev now, which is the C++ evolution viewer. And I will admit that the dark mode is not working very well. I'm going to use Dark Reader and see if we can get a good... well, it's all right. So for each version of the C++ standard, you can look and say, okay, what changed between 11 and 14, 14 and 17? So I can see that there were changes to 2,660 sections between C++ 17 and C++ 20. I can filter these by small changes, medium changes, large changes, whatever. So if I'm going to say small changes, then I can see that the accumulate stable name between C++ 17 and C++ 20 had 23 lines of diffs. I can hit view diffs. I can look and see that accumulate got these functions became const expr, some preconditions were updated, that kind of thing. I can see the C++ weekly episodes that reference some of the things here from accumulate. Can time shift to C++ 23 if I want to and read the intro from here. And I can see the standard guardian is here. Let's talk to guardian. He's the standard guardian, keeper of knowledge and guide to newcomers. I can look at my inventory. Oh no, I don't have anything in my inventory. Seems like I need to explore this adventure game a little bit more. Well, anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this episode of C++ Weekly. Definitely a little random, but these are all tools that I think are quite helpful. And just for the record, all these things are kind of cross-linked and whatever. So I can hit View Standard here. I'm in the intro section. If I hit View Standard, it's going to take me to the appropriate HTML version of that. If I hit View Markdown, it'll take me to the appropriate Markdown version of it. And if I hit View in CBP Evo, it takes me back to here, and I can see what has changed between C++20 and C++23 and the Markdown diff of the standard. And finally, I do want to make sure I talk about CBP Stat, and this is kind of maybe a modern update on what we're used to seeing on the compiler standards conformance from CBP reference. So you can search for some sort of feature. Let's do const eval because we've been doing that anyhow. So I can see const eval, if const eval from C++23, here's a link to the paper. Notice it uses wg21.link down there. And it was implemented in GCC 12, Clang 14, Visual Studio 19.44, Xcode 14, etc. What makes it particularly powerful is if I want to, I can do something like this and say, show me which C++26 features GCC has, for example. Or I can ask for a specific version. Which C++26 features does GCC 14 have? So cool stuff. Make sure you check it out as well. All right, thanks for watching this episode of C++ Weekly. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you next week.